All right, I thought I would describe what it's like to be me in my strengths and weaknesses and my picking apart of the aspects of why I'm able to like figure out all this kind of deep stuff, I guess. But I'm also like an absolute moron when it comes to details. Basically, if you have two different machines, right? Like, let's say you have a calculator and you have a computer. Um, the computer is not specialized towards a certain task. It's not designed like entirely around that task. And it has to kind of like virtual, like there's another to go in another direction slightly. Uh, there's like emulators for like old operating systems on computers or like video game consoles that are old and stuff that can be run on computers for like a special task. And like it's literally like my brain is a computer using an emulator or like a program calculator, and a calculator is designed to be like just a calculator. The calculator is faster at doing the calculator things. It's fast. It's always going to get the calculator things correct and so on. But the virtual machine thing is like it has to have a calculator program to even do any calculations whatsoever. But it can also be programmed to do other things as well. But the thing is, it's less efficient in terms of power usage to have a computer and then also a calculator program, even though it can do more things with its operating system and programs. Um, that's one aspect. And another aspect is that my brain's basically always on unless I like use something to calm it down, like alcohol, or like I fry my brain and like my head hurts and I have to take a nap or something. Like it's crazy. So one of the ways that I approach things is I basically look at a complicated thing that like is like beyond me. Like it's not like screaming at me, and I just let myself like vibe the details out of it. If you give me too many details at once, my brain will fry because I'm looking at the details of the details, and like I'll look at the details of the details of the details. So there's like 20 different things per like anything you tell me, and like it doesn't matter what it is because my brain's always working. I'll figure out some way to break it down and have like a part of it, like 20 different parts of it, well, no matter how small or obvious the thing is. So like other people can like instinctively vibe the details as correct or wrong, um, based on their feelings, and like I have to process the information through my brain, and my brain has to do all the processing. If I learn something, then I can do it kind of instinctively, but other people can instinctively learn how to do things. Now, the advantage to my way of doing it, as a person, or like as a personality or mind type or whatever you want to call them, I'm an INTP, is that I can look at things that are like subtle and like weird and like flowing and like complicated, and like there's all sorts of parts to them, and they're playing they're playing off of each other and like affecting each other at the same time differently, and like there's like different modes and different ways of existing at different times in different situations between like more or less what other people consider the same thing. I can actually like vibe the details of how that actually works from just looking at complicated things and like meditating on it. But other people get their information by learning the details and then sort of like kind of like leveling up their how it works. But I have to look at the how it works, or no, sorry, they level up how it works by instinctively feeling right and wrong parts of it, and analyze the big picture of all the complicated things, and then like figure out the details from the general plan. And other people figure out the details to figure out the general plan. And it's literally a process of like the always on online mind and so on. And I can't trust my instincts that well. I got a couple basic instincts that I can trust, but like I can't trust my instincts that well compared to everyone else. So I have to understand with my brain, and then I can like download it as an instinct. Other people start with instincts and then like figure out what's right and wrong and the details and the theory and principle and the ways it works together and so on in a growing way, and I have to like dissect and deconstruct and like dismantle the details, not like physically but like mentally, out of watching the whole thing work together. It might be a thing about like just sort of picking up on relationships between things versus having it already downloaded in your mind a certain way. And the advantage of this is that I can understand complicated things really easily, but if you give me lots of little details to take care of, I simply shut down. I like lose track of things and so on. And that's one of the reasons why INTPs are described as one of the smartest types and yet also absent minded. And it's literally a fundamentally different way of processing information than everyone else. I don't know exactly how it works or why it works exactly this way, but that's my description of it from the inside of being an INTP and my relationship with other people and how they work. Um, Now, what this means is there's a certain phrase, quadratic wizards and linear warriors, or linear warriors, quadratic wizards, where like the wizard starts really weak and like useless, and then becomes like a god of warfare in late game, and like the warrior starts really good compared to the wizard, and then he kind of like loses his power relative to the wizard faster and faster over time. And it's literally like a matter of like the INTP being a quadratic wizard and everyone else being a linear warrior, basically. Um, and if you add too many new things for them to learn at any given time, then they're going to be like the beginning of the quadratic equation, which, if you don't know, is like it might be like you might be at like up, like if you take a graph and you go right, as you go right you go up a little bit. The warrior starts like higher and he goes higher over time gradually, whereas the wizard starts really low and then kind of goes faster and faster upwards as he goes rightwards. And what that means is if you're adding new things constantly, then you're always starting them at the bottom of the graph, or whatever, basically over and over again. But if you let him like tackle something for a long time, he'll like understand literally everything there is to know about it. And the thing is, this actually adds to certain things in a way other than the thing you're studying, because once you understand the patterns behind it, you begin to understand other patterns behind other things that are similar in the patterns, even if it's completely different subjects at face value. So like once you pick up the patterns of like certain things, then you'll like understand the basics of like even more different things, and it just snowballs and grows to an extent, and it's actually like mind blowing and so on. So like for example, one of the things was noticing about my analysis is that I'm leaning really heavily on yin and yang in my concepts. And also, one of the things I don't mention that much, but I rely on it very heavily, is a very like treat every group of people like a bell curve kind of thing, more or less. And these are like fundamental aspects of reality that like explain almost everything there is on some level with people or groups of animals or like whatever you want to call it. Um, and then there's like the Pareto principle or Pareto distribution, which is like when 20% does 80% of the things and 80% does 20% of the things. And that could be for good or bad things, basically. Like it could be for like inventing life-saving cures for cancer, or it could be like for like being a total criminal. And like the exact, like I don't know exactly what counts as what for everything necessarily. But like the conservatives and why I'm loyal to them is they kind of pick up on these three things relatively well, and they understand the Pareto principle quite well, and that's one of their big things. Um, but I didn't realize that at the time that I used to be a leftist. Um, so, like, if a leftist were to take conservatism, like, I mean, if someone was like lefty oriented in a way, and they took conservatism to be the exact important thing and real thing and so on, if they were honest enough with themselves and they were like hungry for knowledge enough, they could like probably decipher and pick apart and dissect and dismantle and then put back together all the aspects of conservatism that are important and why they're important and all the little details. Maybe. I'm not sure. But as an INTP, I know that I was leftist and I've become kind of right wing now and so on. And like literally what happened was like I looked at conservatism, I looked at common sense, and I was like, well, it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, there's no reasons behind it because like everyone on the right was like vibing their instinctive element, and then like I was like, oh well, leftists make better arguments logically. And then like Jordan Peterson came along and I was kind of like, oh okay, well some of these actually make sense. And then I like was forced to contend with God, and then like all the right wing Christian sort of stuff and capitalism stuff, like just dropped on me like, oh, this is why it's important. This is why it's important, and this is what it means, and this is what it means, and that's what it means, and that's what it means, over and over again, and so on. And like, oh, that's why common sense is important. And basically, my entire video series, in a way, is like explaining common sense in a very intellectual manner, sort of. Um, and like spelling it out in details and like maybe a sort of depth to it in a way, but it's like just common sense. Like that's what my video series is about, basically, in a way. I mean, there's some of it's more deeper meditations and so on, but like, you know what I mean? Like the right wing will look at it and just go like, "Well, no, duh," and the left will be like, "Oh, you're right wing, therefore it's not legitimate." Like they both look at me like I'm a freak in a way with my analysis, probably, but like, um, it's literally like whoever's got the best argument gets my loyalty for how to live. And initially, the left made the best logical arguments, and then I started to develop my own principles and logic and so on, or logical powers, let's say. And then like I discovered that the right and common sense actually has like a crap ton of explanations for why things are the way they are if you look into it deeper, and they just don't communicate it. Um, And basically, this entire video playlist of mine, Existential Crisis Guide and Toolkit, is like explaining why common sense, according to conservatives, is actually a good thing, basically, and like why it actually does things that are valuable in autistic detail. Because I'm an INTP. And like, yeah, that's why I can look at. That's why I can totally vibe like the architecture of a program, but I can't look at code without getting a splitting headache after 5 minutes. And it's not even like it's not even like complicated code. It's like the Hello World program code, which is like 5 different lines of text or something, or 6 lines of text. Like that's how like that's the and it's like line break out and line break in and like body and like code and like text. And those are like the 5 lines of code, and maybe the 6th line of code is like literally the words "Hello World," which is what pops up when you make the program and like execute it and make it work. It just pops up a window that says "Hello World" and the OK button that clicks, and you exit the program. Like that's all it takes to make my head split and headache with details. Because I get overwhelmed with like all the random possibilities of all the meanings of like interlocking behind the details and the actual lines of code. And it's literally as simple as those words I mentioned, and like that's all it means. But because I'm like new to programming, there's like so many possibilities I can think of at once that I like even my own brain can't handle it, and like it just like blows up my mind. It's not like mind blown, like, oh my god, that's like, and the thing is, like, I don't know for sure, but like my analysis is probably like going to be mind blowing to someone that actually pays attention to it in a way from normal people. So like my brain isn't like weaker than other people's. It might even be stronger than other people's on average. And that's a very autism thing and a very INTP thing. But like I can't vibe the details, all the little things that have to happen unless my brain's digested it. And it takes a while for my brain to digest things. Once I digest it, it's like, okay, yeah, I got the instinct right. I can learn instinct, and other people instinctually learn. So it's like the hard work for me is not explaining the logic. The hard work for me is understanding the details. Um, or the, yeah. Like, I can instinctually understand through vibes things I don't know how to say the words for on complicated things and understand them intellectually. Someone else might be advanced in that emotionally. But most people tend to work instinctually in unpacking what details mean, basically, in a way that makes sense. And whatever the case means, whatever the case is for how this actually works, the basics are if I'm allowed to unpack a specific thing that's complicated and the meanings are hidden and so on, I can just look at the relationships of things and understand the meaning. Whereas if you give me details without structure, like my brain like automatically spirals into like infinite possibilities and like it just breaks my mind. It like fries my brain and gives me a headache. And that's one of the reasons why I can understand complicated things with lots of interlocking parts, but like the details and like the specifics of things like break my mind. Whereas other people understand the specifics and details and the big picture with all the interlocking parts and the genius level um, uh, interplay that makes things work in a way that you wouldn't understand normally. Um, and it's like it all works together somehow, breaks other people's minds for the most part, at least in the beginning. Um, so I work from principles to details, and other people work from details to principles. This does mean there's a certain sort of advantage I have in certain complicated things and higher level concepts. But that's why I fail at day to day tasks more often by a long shot than other people. So it's not even about like pure like smarter or dumber than. It's just a matter of like my potential is higher, but it hurts a lot more to get there. Um, uh, and I have to unpack from principles to details, and other people get to the details really quick and understand the basics, and then they don't understand the the higher level principles for a longer time. And there's something about it where if you're unpacking a mystery, um, you might appear smarter, but like, and you might actually be generally smarter in a way, intellectually. But like in day to day living, other people tend to be a little more functional in their approach. And it's like actually like there's a purpose to this stuff biologically, which is like INTPs invent systems and like co- things and concepts through their looking at the world and then applying the principles that they learned to something specific, or like an idea or a system or a concept or a mechanical design, let's say, or something, and like they apply all their understanding to it to invent a new complicated thing that's advanced technology or something, or like sociology or something that's really advanced, and like so on, something that changes society or our technological level so we can like control the world better. But the other people exist, and they like actually like pick up quickly how to like use the thing. And once the INTP invents the thing, they learn how it works quicker than the INTP invents it. Once it's invented. So like they maintain civilization, and the INTP invents civilization. And that's why there's so many people that are not INTP, but also why INTPs are important. Because INTPs advance human understanding, but everyone else maintains human understanding, basically. And like, don't get me wrong, other types can kind of invent things too in a way, but like, it's not like, I mean, what I mean is like specifically intellectually and like logically and rationally understand and invent. You know, like it always, the possibility for the thing always existed, so you can always stumble across an insight or wisdom that like an INTP misses. I'm not saying INTPs know everything, but like the INTP is more likely by a long shot to actually invent a new concept that actually works than the other people. And like the thing is that INTP has to practice inventing things from understanding other systems, and the others just kind of vibe the system from the INTP's invention, and then like teach other people and so on. So like that's why there's so many people that are not INTP, even if INTPs are theoretically or some conceptually or principally the most intelligent Myers-Briggs type indicator, personality or whatever, or mind type. So like there's a purpose to everyone. It's not just like INTPs are smart and everyone else can go have a big fat cry. It's like actually like there's a like the INTP is smart for a particular purpose, and they kind of suck at everything else, or maybe not suck at everything else, but they suck at a lot of day-to-day detail stuff. So if you ask me to do minimum wage work, where it's like, you punch an order for food and drink in a till, and then you make the coffee, and you make the sandwich, and then you um, hand it over, and then you just rinse, repeat, and then you stock some donuts or something in the front window, and you wipe down the counter. Like the INTP will have trouble processing all of that because his mind blows up into like 20 billion details of like those simple tasks. So they're not suited towards those tasks. But a little bit of practice in those kinds of things is actually necessary so that INTP can learn to function in day-to-day life. And what you learn is sometimes they also take day-to-day functioning capabilities and invent even more new principles and theories and structures and like concepts and so on and systems because they learn the basic living things. And like it's not a process of just raw like intelligence. It's also a process of like the INTP brain is always on, always functioning, always analyzing everything, and so on. So there's like you can break an INTP's mind by just overloading them with details. And like other people can just work through details like it's nothing. Like if you give like a 20 item checklist and say do one after the other, the INTP might be able to do it. But if you give a 20 item checklist and you just don't order it and you say okay do it when you can, the INTP will like shut down. That's like my personal experience of like being a gas jockey and having like a 20 item checklist and like working tills and stuff like that. Once I got the tills understood, I could do 2 tills at once at rush hour while someone else did all the checklist items. Like, that was kind of what I defaulted to. My first job, I wasn't a good salesman or anything like that because I'm not really a like I have to use the thing and enjoy it to actually endorse it, kind of. So like all these different things were like I was suspicious of, kind of in a way. But like understanding the back room and the sorting mechanism and like how it was supposed to be ordered and stuff was like simple, and I could like um, make it more efficient and effective and easier to get things and find things. So that's what I gravitated towards. And if you notice, these are not like high level skills that pay a lot of money. Um, and you can kind of see how you could be really like locked into something that you're not very rewarding as an INTP because of your lack of ability in certain ways. But once you break out of that into the areas of strength and you get some life experience and you get some analysis experience and you kind of start piecing together certain things, then like other things start locking into place and so on. So you can analyze, like you can just pick up naturally and vibe the the strengths and weaknesses and like the patterns that are similar to other things you've analyzed in certain ways and so on. And it's literally yin yang, bell curve, and Pareto principle for my sociological analysis in the end, basically. Um, and like yin is like chaos, darkness, femininity or femininity, and leftism or being lefty, and so on. And yang is like masculine, order, light. Oh, and yin is darkness. I forgot that one. Yang is masculinity, order, light, right, and like conservative or right. And like capitalist. Whereas yin is socialist because it's feminine. And it's like there's a specific like relationship to all these things, to yin and to yang in a different way. And it's like all of humanity basically boils down to those like three principles on some level. Basically, is what I'm discovering. It's mind blowing, and it's just about a play application of exactly when something is that thing or not. And it's like when you find out where it is, it's like, oh my god, that was so obvious.